Hey, good evening, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Live with me, Mike Avery. Here in the home studio today. So glad to have you along with me. Hello, Craig. The third tube is on my boat. Gene sent me the picture. All three tubes are on now. These are the new ones, too. Patrick, good evening. Tommy, how are you? Randy, thanks for joining me. Joe, how are you? Watching from the zero-turn mower. Joe's working tonight. Those zero turns are pretty cool. Back when I was a kid working on the golf course, we had an early version of those. They were a lot of fun. Working on the golf course was a lot of fun. It was a great way to grow up. I got to get out there in the morning, mow the greens, and get out there early. Work till 2 o'clock or so, go home, take a quick nap, come back and play golf every night. Cliff, good evening, buddy. James, thanks for joining me. Oh, Mike, I didn't get a chance to post your pictures yet, but that really looked like a lot of fun. Johnny Bowler. Got a better signal now, Johnny? Bear Whisperer. Mike, good evening. How are you? YouTube feed is not going. Let me check it out here. It says I'm live on YouTube. It says I'm live on YouTube, but view your channel. I got people watching it right now, Craig. I think it's just you. Uncle Johnny, it's nice to hear that you guys got out and got a preview of the course that we are going to be playing for the Mike Avery Outdoors golf outing, the West Branch Country Club. And you say it's nice. We will be up there Monday, July 29th. Charles, good evening. How are you? Johnny says he's eating a big fat sundae. Afternoon, Danny. How are you? Danny, look what I got here. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, courtesy of you and Craig Plowman. Craig's on there with us as well. Uncle Johnny says the West Branch Country Club was very nice. I have no doubt. We will be playing. They just played 9 holes. We're going to be, of course, playing 18. If you want to join us, mucc.org/golf, mucc.org/golf. If you want to play and or sponsor the event, mucc.org/golf. Linda, it's nice to see you as well, and it is a fantastic evening. I was out earlier, got the lawn all mowed. Just nice. Where we are, there's a very cool breeze off Saginaw Bay, a pretty stiff northeast breeze. I wouldn't want to be on the water today. I do want to be on there pretty soon because my Angler Quest is in the shop right now at Apex Marine. They put the third tube on today, the new tube. I'll be ready to rock very, very soon. Jason, how are you, buddy? Nice to have you along with us. Lee, howdy, how are you? Scott, he bought a set of Cobra irons and new metals. Hit a few tonight. They went straight along. Scott, okay, is this the new set you were talking about several weeks ago? I can't believe you. I don't think you went out and bought another new set. Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking that since my current clubs are like 30, 35 years old, I need a new set of clubs. I'm thinking I need a set of clubs designed for an older guy who doesn't swing as hard or swing as fast. I just have to talk myself into pulling the trigger now because they're not cheap, are they, Scott? Bernie, good evening. They are the same set. Excellent. Good for you. Good for you. Hey, it's only money. They print more every day, right? They print more money every day. So what's on the list? Can you believe that next weekend is Memorial Weekend already? Isn't that crazy? Pike and walleye season now open in the UP. Our UP friends had to wait this extra 3 weeks for walleye season to open. It's open now. Well, and Pike. Pike season's open now. Have at them. The late turkey season continues. I'm getting a lot of pictures of big birds. If you have a picture you want to send me, please do. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I do not like the look of that. Let me change this just a little bit. Tilt it down a little bit. And there I am. I don't look any better. Isn't that supposed to make me look better? A higher angle? I think we're beyond making me look any better. Now I can actually see my comments too. This is what I need to do. Bring my camera up so I can see my comments. David, nice to have you along with us. Life is treating me very well. Life could not treat me any better. David, how about you? Do not forget that May is the time to apply for your Michigan bear or elk tag. You're not going to get an elk tag, but you might get a bear tag. Scott says, "Are you still hitting feather wrapped golf balls, Mr. Avery? Buy the new clubs." No, they're not feather wrapped balls, but my driver does have a wooden shaft. If that tells you anything, I'm due for new clubs. I'm due for new clubs. Problem is, I have to get them a little longer than usual too. I can't just go in the shop and buy them off the rack. They got to be a little taller than usual, a little longer than usual. Kevin, good evening, buddy. How are you? Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Michael, Mr. Looters, how are you tonight? I'm doing good, Mike. How did the interview with Uncle Ted go today? It was actually very good. I have not talked to Ted in several years, and so it was a very nice conversation. He's a very passionate man. He's a very articulate man. He's a very intelligent man. And he had a lot of very cool comments today. He did really get down on the Michigan DNR. In fact, he named people by name, which made me a little bit uncomfortable. But you know, his comments are always very well thought out and very articulate. He is on in the second hour of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, the first half hour of the show. Eric, good evening. How are you? Lee, is there any chance of drawing a bull elk tag from out of state first year trying? I'll answer this question with a question because I don't know the answer. Can an out of state person can an out of stater apply for a Michigan elk tag? I think that's the case. Yes. And if that's the case, yes, there is a chance. There is a chance. Statistically, a very small chance, but there is a chance. Evening, Dan. How are you? Bernie says he plays 18 on Monday, played 18 on Wednesday, and 18 on Thursday every week. Today was a very humbling day. Isn't that the truth? That's one of the reasons why I really like golf. It's like fishing and hunting. You can get to a point where you think you're kind of good at it, but you never master it. Scott says, can't wait to hear the conversation with Uncle Ted. It was a good conversation. It really was. And I really don't want to wait that long to talk to him again because it's been a long time since I talked with him. And he is a great spokesman. He was, in his mind, he's speaking the truth for sure. And that's one of the things we talked about, Tommy, was how in today's world, the anti-hunters are getting a foothold in our state wildlife management organizations and agencies, and that'll be the kiss of death for us. Dave, good evening, buddy. How are you? Appreciate you joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic. My name is Mike Avery. My website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mikeaveryoutdoors.com. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. This morning, when I was doing my Wednesday, doing my Behind the Mic segment, I played around with going live to Instagram again. I don't routinely go live to Instagram because it's a couple of extra steps and it's almost more of a hassle than it's worth. But I did go live to Instagram this morning. I was trying that out. Buddy says, did you get out and find some morels yet? No, I haven't been out looking for morels. I haven't been out doing much of anything since turkey season. But my angler quest is at the Apex Marine Plant right now. They replaced the tubes. They put on the new model of tubes. They got them all on today. And I think I'm going to be ready to rock very soon. Mike, good evening. How are you, my friend? Scott Hand. And Mike made me think of Walleye for Warriors, which made me think of Scott Hand. Scott was telling me this morning that they reached their number on boat captains. So they're good on boat captains. I'm not saying it's not too late to apply or volunteer to be a boat captain for Walleye for Warriors, but they hit the number they were after, and they were able to put the veterans on the boats, the minimum number that they had hoped so. So it's going to be another great event. Ed, good evening. How are you? Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Speaking of social media, I told this story this morning, but I'm going to tell it again. And Ed, you made me think of it because you're a trap and skeet shooter. I'm a big fan of high school trap shooting. My son Carter shoots on the local high school trap team. A couple of weeks ago, I had the national director of the Trap Shooting Association for Kids on the radio show. I'm a big fan of it. I think it takes kids who might not normally be involved in a school sport because they're either not big enough or strong enough, but they can shoot a gun, shotgun. It takes kids who may have never had any experience in the shooting sports, and it teaches them safe gun handling practices. It teaches them to respect guns, but not fear guns. It teaches them teamwork. There's no downside of trap shooting. So I posted video on my grandson Carter on the trap line, video from behind of him shooting trap. And there was nothing, believe me, there was nothing unsafe about his activities that day. I promise you, nothing whatsoever. TikTok, and why am I screwing around with TikTok? I'm playing around with TikTok because in my mind, one of the things that I am supposed to do while I'm here on this earth is to preach the gospel of the outdoors. I shouldn't put it that way. I'm sorry. Is to talk about the outdoors and this outdoor lifestyle and hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and promote it in any way that I can. So to do that, I need as big of audience as possible. So I need to use as many different avenues and outlets as I can. So obviously I've got the radio show. Obviously I've got podcasting. Obviously I've got social media, live streams, but TikTok is an audience that I hadn't really exploited or played around with. I know TikTok, when I think of TikTok, even now, I think of pre-teenage girls in very suggestive outfits doing really uncomfortable dances on the camera. And it really, I wanted no part of it. But I thought, okay, I see a lot of my outdoor friends who are on TikTok. There must be an outdoor side of TikTok that I'm not seeing. So I got on there and I started searching, looking around, and I found a lot of fishing videos in particular and some outdoor related videos. So I thought, well, why not? So I started posting videos to TikTok. I've had two of them banned now by TikTok because it violated their community standards. The first video I had banned was a video of a guy and his daughter in a turkey blind while a bear walked by. How could that violate TikTok community standards? The second one was they banned Carter's video from the trap line. Here's what they said. I violated TikTok community guidelines, and I'm going to read it to you verbatim. It'll take just a second. Firearms and dangerous weapons. TikTok can be a place that educates people on the responsible use and ownership of weapons, as well as the associated potential for serious harm. Firearms and explosive weapons can cause severe injury or death, especially when used in an unsafe manner. We do not allow the trade of firearms or explosive weapons or content showing or promoting them if they are not used in a safe or appropriate setting. That's why they banned the video of my grandson Carter shooting trap. I will guarantee you I know more about safe gun handling practices and procedures than the people at TikTok. And there was nothing in that video that was unsafe. TikTok decided to take it down. I'm about to the point where I want to say, screw TikTok. Dami says she's hoping her daughter can have a chance to shoot trap on a high school team. That wasn't something that was there when you were in high school. Me neither. I know, Kendall. I know. I love that video of the young girl and her dad with a bear. Mike, friend went mushrooming for an hour, no mushrooms, but did attract 13 ticks. I shouldn't be laughing. You know why I shouldn't laugh? Because as much time as I have spent outdoors, both on the farm when I was a kid and now, hunting and fishing and stuff, I've never had a tick. Now I know by saying this, I'm going to jinx myself, but I've never had a tick. Still raining in Kansas. Chris, good evening. How are you? Scott Hand, Flicker minnows and Flicker shad, lime green and chrome got discontinued. What is Berkeley thinking? They're always a hit on the Bay in July. Chrome bill is the ticket. Wow. That is crazy. Evening, David. How are you? Bruce, nice to have you along with us. Kendall says 2 things that freak him out: ticks and mud puppies. You know what freaks me out? Snakes. Linda. About to the point. Linda's referring to my comment where I said, I'm about to the point that you just say, screw TikTok. Linda says, about to the point. Drop it now like a hot potato. Double standard with all the other crap they show. I get it, Linda. I'm with you 1,000%. They will allow lewd behavior by young girls, which is very disturbing, and they almost seem to promote it, but they won't allow me to post a video of my grandson safely handling a firearm and shooting a clay pigeon on the trap range. Hello, Scott. Good evening. How are you? Kevin says, yeah, TikTok doesn't like gun stuff, but I see a lot of it anyhow. I have successfully appealed a couple of videos taken down, but it's pretty hit or miss. Seems like you really have to overstate safety and legality, or even say it's a toy or something like that. We shouldn't have to work that hard, should we, Kevin? You're right, Lee. That was an awesome video. Dave, I can't go outside my yard without coming in unless with 4 ticks. They don't have a clue, Bernie. There's James right there. James says, how did my video of a bear walking up to a turkey decoy violate safe firearm standards? There wasn't even a gun in the video. I know. Actually, James, it wasn't yours. It was the other video. It was the video from Detroit Buck Club, Steve Miller. It was Steve Miller's video. I found it interesting. I got 2 bear and turkey videos in the same week. It wasn't yours, James. It was Steve Miller's video of him and his daughter, and there wasn't a gun in that either. Chris, talking about ticks, there's a new one, Asian longhorn tick, that causes problems. So we've got invasive species with ticks now? Linda, got my Flickr shads restocked. Fire Tiger is the way to go. You can't beat Fire Tiger. I mean, Fire Tiger is kind of good day in and day out everywhere. Good to hear, Scott, appreciate that. Tommy says chickens are good because chickens will eat ticks. Okay. You let them roam the yard and they love the ticks. I had not heard of that. I did not know that, but that's pretty cool. Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate that. Okay. What is in the overpriced? The only reason I like this Yeti is because it has the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation logo on it. Other than that, I can't stand Yetis. And this one, I thought I had filled up before I came down here to my office, but it's dry, almost dry. Kevin, I agree, but even as a licensed firearm dealer, even Facebook will occasionally take down firearms related video. I've never had that happen yet. God said he never had a tick till this year. He's 66 years old. Man, Scott, you are old. You are really old. Brandon, jigging and bottom bouncing Detroit River. How long will you stay down there, Brandon, before you come back up to the bay? Bernie, I don't either, but I'm sure that they were around. Scott said the Guinness will take care of all Guinness. Oh, Guineas. I thought you said Guinness. Guinness solves most problems too. Can we get a close look at the beer over my shoulder? I don't see a beer over my shoulder. Kevin, agreed on the chickens as well. We have 4. I've not had a single bug problem since getting the free range in the yard. I've had Facebook take down a post for a dozen arrows I was trying to sell. Yeah, because they must be dangerous, right, James? The red beer stein. Beer. Stein. I see it now. It was blocked by my camera. Sorry. Yeah, I can bring that down. That is a Maker's Mark Stein. I won't grab it right now, but that's a beer stein from Maker's Mark. Somebody, it might have been even Uncle Johnny, somebody, one of my friends, Tony, bought me some Maker's Mark. If I remember right, it came with a beer stein and some glasses. Pretty cool. Hey, listen, I like Maker's Mark and I like Guinness. I cannot lie. I like cigars. I like fishing. I like golf. I like hunting. Can I remind you again about the outing, golf outing, mucc.org/golf, mucc.org/golf. I haven't seen the most recent stats on it, but I gotta believe we're getting pretty close to being filled up. We can always use more sponsors, of course. You don't have to be a sponsor to play. Yes, Tony. In fact, fat bottom Betties. I do love my fat bottom Betties. I may or may not have smoked one today. Only me and my truck know for sure. Kendall says, I don't trust a beer I can't see through. Kendall, I'm just the opposite. If I can see through it, I want nothing to do with it. Let me tell you who's coming up on the Outdoor Magazine radio show this week. Jason Horton is my first guest. Jason is with the Michigan Bow Fishing Association. Their website is bowfishbam.com. That's bowfishbam.com. He talks about bow fishing, the appeal of that sport. I think it's like a cross between bow hunting and fishing. I think bow fishing is a riot. Then at the end of the hour, Mr. Angler Quest, Quest, Brad Dupuy joins me. I did a podcast last week with Brad, an Angler Quest podcast, getting an update from him about the status of the new company, the new boats, where he's at. And I thought, you know what? It would make for an interesting radio segment as well. So I have him on at the end of the first hour talking about where he stands right now. Thank you, Philip. And by the way, my Angler Quest is just about done. I got a picture from a super secret spy inside the shop today. He sent me a picture this morning. He said, check your messages. And there was my boat in the shop with one of the new tubes on. He said, I'll give you an update later. About 4:00, he sends me another picture. Your third tube is on. Now, listen, there was nothing wrong with the tubes that I had. I didn't have any leaks. Everything was fine. It wasn't listing, but there have been some problems with that previous tube design. So what did they used to say with COVID? In an abundance of, what was the goofy, stupid word they used? Caution. In an abundance of caution, we are going to make everybody in the world wear a mask and shut down our economic system to prove to you how much power and authority we have over you. Oh, did I just say that? I didn't mean to say that. Scott Hand, ask Avery question. Can you spear walleye from above the water on a ladder stand, or do you have to be underwater with a spear gun? You have to be under the water. Don't try it, Hand. Specticide, triazicide to knock down the ticks in his yard. Does a great job. Excellent. Scott, I'm right behind you, man. The Angler Quest is ready to go. I wonder, you saw a guy spearing on Linwood. I wonder if that was the guy who did the whole spearfishing thing. John Dirtka. I wonder if that was John Dirtka. All right. In the second hour of this week's show, a guy you may or may not have heard about before. His name is Ted Nugent. I guess he's some rocker from Detroit. I've heard he's been around forever. I heard he's a big hunting advocate. I heard he's a big pro-gun advocate. I heard he's fighting big government. I don't know. That's just what I heard. Maybe you've heard about him. Maybe you haven't. But anyway, he's on the show at the beginning of the second hour. Then Chad Fedewa from the Michigan DNR on why you should never, 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 never pick up a fawn. Don't pick up fawns. You're not doing them any favors. Number one, it's illegal. You can't legally possess a wild animal. It's not owned by you. It's owned by the state of Michigan. So you can't pick one up. You can't possess it. The fawn isn't abandoned. The doe is nearby. And even if she's not, even if she's been killed or she's dead in the unlikely event that that happened, or even if you find a dead doe on the side of the road with a newborn fawn next to it, don't pick it up. I know you want to save it. Well, are you really saving it if you raise it in captivity? Even if you take it to a certified rehabilitator, they're not going to get that deer back into the woods. They're not. That deer is meant to live its life as a wild animal. So why would you interject yourself into that situation because you want to feel better? Um, well, as long as they weren't spearing walleye, they're okay, Scott, because you can spear rough fish from above. It's like shooting carp. We did talk about Fred Bear. I'm going to talk about that in just a second here. And then in the third, I'm sorry, at the end of the hour, the Ask Avery question segment. And this is a good question. This comes from James Riley, a listener. He says, Mike, the DNR will let you keep a roadkill deer, but what if you hit a wolf, a moose, an elk, or a bear, or even a cougar? And I'm not talking about the two-legged cougar. I'm talking about the four-legged cougar. I think you know the answer to this. I thought I knew the answer as well. But it's a very good question. Thank you, James. And in our third hour, Plowman, you still with me? I want Craig Plowman, if you're still here, check in. I want to make sure you're here with me. I'm going to stand by. Mr. Craig Plowman, say, yeah, I'm here. You hear, Craig? Because I want to make sure you hear this. Michelle, is Craig still here? All right. I think he is. I haven't heard from him lately, but I think he's here. Remember, Craig, when you were busting my chops about how you said Lance was talking about fishing crawlers, and I said, I don't believe you. I asked Lance, and he said, never. I wasn't talking about fishing crawlers. I said, well, maybe were you talking about tying night crawler harnesses? He said, yeah, maybe that, but I wasn't talking about fishing crawlers. So Plowman, and I mentioned you on the show this week too, specifically. You busted my chops, buddy. Lance Valentine from Teaching Fishing talks about fishing. Then we wrap it. I had an additional guest too. Justin Tomei of MUCC checked in as well. And then Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner wrapped up the show. Let me go back to my conversation with Uncle Ted. By the way, have there been many songs better ever than Stranglehold? Really, I mean, think about it. What else is up there with Stranglehold? Man, I mean, that's kind of a classic. All right, Chris, I was glad you were able to join us. Maybe a Skynyrd song, maybe Stairway to Heaven. But I mean, Stranglehold is pretty classic, right? Actually, Ted mentioned Stranglehold today. When Ted and I were talking, one of the topics of conversation was Freebird. Yeah, Freebird's right up there too, right? I mean, Freebird, Stranglehold, Stairway to Heaven. There are some just absolute rock anthems, and Stranglehold's right in there. Cat Scratch Fever, I could take or lose. Yeah, Fred Bear, that's what we're going to talk about, Spirit of the Wild. But Fred Bear wasn't really a rock song. Good evening, Jim. How are you? Right back at you. Nugent's Fred Bear is a tough one to beat, and I'm going to talk about that right now. Seeger has some good ones. I was just telling my daughter the other day, I found video online of the US 131 Martin Jam from 1979, July 1st in 1979. I was at that show. Styx, Nazareth, Heart, Spirit, Little River Band, and Bob Seger. That was a pretty good show. Okay, so we were talking about Fred Bear and how it came to be. The first time I ever heard the song Fred Bear, I got goosebumps. I thought, what is it? What is it? What is this all about? And then I realized, okay, well, this is Nugent talking about Fred Bear. So I was telling Ted, and I said, Ted, I'm going to blow my own horn here a little bit. And at the risk of being braggadocious, I said, I think, Ted Nugent, that there is not a better video version of Fred Bear in existence, not a better version than the one that I put together that is on YouTube. And the reason being is you will not find another version of that song anywhere online that combines both video and audio of Fred Bear with video and audio of Ted Nugent. It's the only one in existence. Ted says, "Yeah, you nailed that one." He said, that's classic." He said, "You nailed that one." Thunderstruck, yes. Yeah, that ticket would cost a few bucks today, wouldn't it, Ed? And you know what? Back then, it probably cost listen, I was a senior in high school or junior. Probably, probably was more than I had to spend anyway. But yeah, it was really nice to talk to Ted. Again, to say he's not a fan of the Michigan DNR is an understatement. And he really got on them hard. I mean, he was on their rear ends to the point where I got a little bit uncomfortable because he named people in the department, which I didn't think it was, I don't want to say it wasn't fair, but I felt uncomfortable because I didn't have that person there. Ted did say, he mentioned the guy by name. He said, "You and I can have a debate on the Mike Avery radio show anytime." But Ted thinks it's ridiculous that we can't bait. You know what? I think it's ridiculous we can't bait. I got to be honest with you. The more I think about this for whitetails in the Lower Peninsula, the more I think about this, I can't come up with a reason that holds any credence, any value, any weight. But that's neither here nor there. If you have, Tommy, and all you others out there with a young son or daughter or grandson or daughter, if you have a picture of them in the outdoors, either hunting or fishing or something along that line, send it to me. If you think of it, use the hashtag Forward Fuels Tradition. Or even if you just post it on your Facebook page, and I think and use the hashtag Forward Fuels Tradition, and I do a search for it, I think I can find it. But what I'm suggesting is you send that picture to me. And the best way to get me pictures is to send an email to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And when I post it, I will use the hashtag Forward Fuels Tradition. Which reminds me, let me make myself a quick note right here. I always make a note for myself, or I have a list, or I have a thing, a cheat sheet or whatever, of things that I need to get done tomorrow. Okay. Now I won't forget. Hashtag I will post it with Forward Fuels Tradition. And we will pick a winner every month from those pictures. And that winner wins a $50 gift card to the Forward Corporation to be used, well, I guess for anything, but more likely at one of the Forward convenience stores or gas stations. Linda, I can only imagine what he had to say about the NRC. He did. Actually, I had some pretty strong, and it's going to be online. In fact, it was in my Wednesday behind the mic segment this morning when I was talking about the Michigan NRC before I even realized Ted was going to go off on him. And I made some comments. I was not real kind, and I made some comments as if I was a Michigan NRC commissioner, and I may have used a voice that was very Karen-like, if you know what I mean. And I said something about if I was an NRC commissioner, I would be more concerned about what the anti-hunters think than what the hunters think, and I'm not going to pay any attention to sound scientific wildlife management anyway. It might have been something along that line. Yeah, Tommy, I bet you do. Got some chores for you tonight, eh, Dave? All right, go get them done, buddy. Yeah, I mean, if we don't have sound scientific wildlife management practices, and if we don't have people in wildlife management positions who will adhere to sound science and sound wildlife biology, we're in trouble. We're in trouble because we are now outnumbered. There are more non-hunters than there are hunters and anglers than there are those of us who do hunt and fish. And the antis have become so they're just absolutely fervent in their hatred for us and what we do. And they are so well organized and so well funded, and they are getting inroads into the wildlife management agencies. The antis, in some ways, they're dumb as rocks, but in other ways, they're very, very smart and they're cunning and they know the system and they know how to work the system. So if we don't have people in authority who will abide by those sound scientific wildlife management practices, we're going to be in trouble. We really are. Hmm. What else do you have for me tonight, my friends? Oh, going back to Nugent, it was so nice to talk to him again. Um, I think he's 75, but he's going to be 76 by the time this deer season comes around. He's not a young man. You mentioned you were in high school then. You're supposed to senior picture? Doug, why do you do that to me? Adam says there's snakes. Mike, I was watching one of the virtual DNR meetings, and one of the biologists that was on a particular meeting said that know that the baiting ban was not going to solve the chronic wasting disease. So I asked, why are they portraying it as they would? They didn't answer my question, and that's a great question, Mike. If the DNR wants us to kill more deer, or at least have a better deer hunting experience, let the people who want to use bait use bait. If you're against bait and you don't want to use bait, then don't use it. But there's no doubt that bait will allow you to see more deer. It will allow you to better judge the animal before you take a shot. It will allow you to let the animal get in a better position for a shot placement, particularly for bow hunters. And if you're against it, just don't use it. But I mean, you can't have it both ways. If you want us to kill more deer, then give us tools to kill more deer. Avery, that's just because you're not a good enough hunter to kill an animal without bait. Man, I'm no expert. I mean, I, I'm I, I'm not much of a deer hunter anymore, and it's because of regulations like that, and it's because of the social pressure that surrounds deer hunting. When I was talking to Jimmy Gretzinger several weeks ago now, I said, Jimmy, do you still deer hunt? He said, hardly at all. He said, because you can't kill a deer these days and feel good about it because somebody is going to give you grief. I said, Jimmy, I know exactly what you mean. It's either going to be not old enough, you didn't let it go, you didn't let it grow. Uh, you know, uh, uh, Charles, I heard out of 93 out of Newberry on Woods and Trails Sunday morning something about a UPNRC. I miss UPNRC. I didn't know that 93.9 out of Newberry had Woods and Trails on Sunday morning. And what are you doing listening to a show called Woods and Trails when Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine is also on then? I don't know about the NRC, but talking to Jordan Hoover this morning, he said that the UP Deer Management Initiative group is just about ready to make their final report. They're going to make that report to the NRC and to the DNR. Linda say, I'd already say we're in trouble given some recent activity by the NRC. Yes. Cliff, thank you. A reminder, tax break on gun safes and locks. This is a big deal. Not if you're buying just a little lock for your gun, but if you're buying a gun safe, and these things can run into the thousands and you don't have to pay sales tax on it for a while, good deal. Impatiently waiting for coyote season to reopen. When is that, Matt? Is it July 1st? Thank you, Jim. Talking about that earlier. Put in for your Michigan bear and elk tags, the opener for pike and walleye in the UP now on. Excellent, Dave. I will take a look at it. They still sell it. Bait. Yeah. And I've had a lot of people say, well, if baiting is banned, how come they can still sell bait? And I hearken it back to when pot was illegal in Michigan, you couldn't sell pot, but you could still buy paraphernalia. That's what I relate it to. Brian, good evening. How are you? You listen to both. You're off the hook, Charles. And I was just busting your chops anyway. Adam, as a fellow Christian, I'd like to thank you for being so bold with your faith. Keep it up, brother. I appreciate that. I make no bones about it. No bones about it. I am a man of God. I am a man of faith. I am a Christian. I know where my strength lies. I know where I will be when all this stuff in this world is done with. So yeah, absolutely. July 15th. You got to wait yet, Matt. And listens to both. Any word on put and take pheasants this year, Jim? I don't know. I haven't heard anything. And by the way, I should say Captain Jim. Jim got his captain's license the same way I got mine from. Well, he got it from the previous owner, but John Littlefield. If you want to become a licensed charter captain, PMT Captains, Premier Maritime Training, pmttraining.com is the website. Linda, they sell it for disabled hunters. I believe baiting is legal for it is. Baiting in the U, thank you, Linda. Baiting in the UP is legal for whitetails, and baiting for handicap hunters is legal as well, I think. Okay. Getting close to time to wrap this up. I'm batching it here at the Avery house now. My wife is downstate with my daughter for a couple of days. Highly recommend John Littlefield. I do as well, Jim. So I got nothing to do around here right now but to work. So I think I'm going to use this evening and get some work done, because pretty soon that Angler Quest is going to be knocking on my door saying, let's go fishing. Again, my name is Mike Avery. First walleye charter on Erie. I got 6 males on, got seasick twice, but kept it down. A lot of fun. But not for the youth hunt on the same weekend. Good point, Mike. I'm with you, Linda. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. One more plug for the first annual. Well, let me start my music while I'm wrapping this thing up. Just because. Maybe I'm an old rocker at heart. I told Ted, he said his music used to scare Fred Bear. I said, heck, your music used to scare me, Ted. He said, sometimes it scares him. If you would like to be a part of the first annual Mike Avery Outdoors charity golf outing to benefit MUCC's youth camp, I would love to have you. As a player and or a sponsor, if you want to get involved, go to the website mucc.org/golf, mucc.org/golf. There you can sign up to be a player, or you can sign up to be a sponsor. We have several levels of sponsorship, and some of them are, well, they're very reasonable. Some of them are a little bit expensive because we want to raise some money, but you can get into this thing very, very cheap. And if you are interested at all, I would encourage you to go to that website, mucc.org/golf, mucc.org/golf. Oh, did you notice if you download the podcast version of the show, did you notice I changed that format a little bit? All right, my friends, what a beautiful night it is. I hope you get a chance to enjoy it. And thanks for joining me on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Have a good night.